Whether you're a suburban athlete or an Olympic champion, you've got to work hard to get results. We've put over 15 years' experience into developing Active Man, combining vitamins, minerals and proteins. Active Man helps provide you with the nutrients you need to optimize performance and assist recovery. Discover the Active Man range, now available. Active Man, power up.
Welcome to this week's Power Progress podcast, and I have an interesting guest speaker, and that's Adam Parker. And we kind of connected through Daniel from PT for You, and we're going to go into a little bit of detail how he's got to what he does now, and a big part of that is helping others with mental health. But I tell you what, he's got so much he offers to help others. How you doing, Adam? You good, mate?
I'm okay, mate. Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, that's good. Little bit of a backstory. I actually got stuck in traffic today, so we got connected first on the Bluetooth on the way getting here, and we're finally here. And we're going to go into a bit more how you've got to where you are now. And obviously, as per usual, we all have a story of developing ourselves first before we help others. So let's start with that. What age was you when you kind of felt you needed to work on yourself?
I came to it quite late, if I'm honest. My realisation was at about the age of about 28. I'd done some gym work. You know, I wasn't completely fresh to it, and I'd been in sports quite a long time. But for me, it was a utilisation of a realisation about myself. I was in quite a horrible, abusive relationship. I just remember basically looking in the mirror. I was basically about 9.5, probably pushing 10 stone, wet through, skinny, no confidence, nothing. I literally looked at my life. I had a relationship that was awful. I had a job that I didn't particularly want to do. I had basically a physique and a life that just made me wake up depressed.
Yeah.
Subsequently, I was quite mentally ill. I later found out, obviously, exacerbated with my ADHD that I had.
Yeah.
So I had no real confidence to change my life really at that point, because I was too far down. But the only thing I could see that I could change was my physical appearance.
Yeah.
So that was the start of it. I went to a gym. I told a story, I think it's on my website, that I basically threw up the day of going because I was so nervous to go in.
Yeah.
Eventually got inside after about 3 times of trying to get through the turnstiles because I couldn't enter the door.
Was you anxious of other people in there? Is that what made you feel sick and anxious at that point?
I think gyms themselves can be intimidating. You know, I wasn't confident as a person. You know, I didn't have the physique or stature to be imposing. So I went into a room full of what looked like shaved gorillas and torture and machines that looked like torture chambers mixed with Owen Towers rides. And you had no starting point other than a few machines that I knew. You've gone in there completely blind as well, so no guidance. And I went in, got spoke to by one of the PTs that were there that could say I was nervous, called Sian Ripley. I remember her to this day because she was I think the key to the way I am as a PT. And she guided me without being patronising, and slowly helped me build my confidence in that place. And that's kind of where I kind of come at it. You know, the gym's terrifying for people that are not used to them. And that's my starting point, basically, to kind of then, after that, left partner, changed jobs. It was the catalyst for me anyway, for changing my life, really.
Yeah. I mean, what height are you? Just so I can really draw the picture.
I'll try and remember myself. So I'm 5'9", 5'10".
Yeah.
I'm not a statuesque young man, and I was also 9 stone, so I didn't look particularly big.
Yeah.
So going into a room full of big guys and women that knew what they were doing, I felt a bit out of place.
Yeah, I bet you did, mate. Yeah. It must have been really uncomfortable. Keep talking. The camera's gone off, but we're...
Yeah, I know. So
yeah.
for me, that's once I'd got that point, changed and got into it and changed my career, became a PT, I kind of realised that was what it's the main problem with getting people to go to the gym.
Yeah.
Is the fact that it's pissing terrifying for most people. It's an intimidating place. So I created it was known as the Light the Way Academy, which I've kind of nearly finished now. It needs kind of a little bit of finessing, but it's ready to kind of for people to test, where I go through kind of the 4 stages of things you need to know, which is nutrition, because you don't realize how much nutrition affects your mental health and your behavior. Then you have just basic kind of body physiology stuff that you kind of, you need to know. Because later in life, I went into competitive powerlifting, and I really should have had someone telling me a bit more about stretching. But stretching is really key in mobilization, because you can hurt yourself really badly.
Yeah, huge.
And then there's a section on basically, I call it from surviving to thriving in the gym environment. And there's little coping mechanisms that I learned to kind of deal with having anxiety and depression, and how I got myself to go to the gym. But the hardest bit is to keep going to the gym, especially if you suffer from depression, because your body will sometimes make you basically stay in bed. There's nothing you can do. So it's working on little tiny steps to get you back to your routine again.
Yeah.
And then the final bit is a routine that basically can be done at home, so that it can start getting the confidence to feel like they could go into a gym and not be completely out of place.
Yeah, I was going to say that where we're quite similar is when we talk about, obviously, the physical appearance is the thing what sort of was almost like a cope mechanism when you developed that first. I can really relate to that I started running when I was around age 14, because I suffered mental health as a youngster, which is really weird. It seems to be, for most people, our generation at least, and I can say that because I'm 40 odd as well, we didn't really have the support network before. They didn't really spot it, So, but when I look back, I suffered a depression at quite an early age, panic attacks and all sorts, and no one really understood why. So running was a real good way of me feeling like I've achieved something. And it was also a form of meditation in a way, when I reflect back. And then I flipped it to wanting to look better. So that become almost my coping mechanism, that at least I looked okay. Do you know what I mean? And then obviously I had to develop elsewhere in other areas. But I still feel I've carried that self-standard that I want to be a certain way physically, as well as feeling good, So I can really relate to that side of things.
Yeah, I think that's kind of how it worked with myself as well. The physical side increased the confidence, but the actual weightlifting that I did helped with my ADHD and depression, because it gave me a hyper focus on something that I could zone out all of the thoughts in my head. Yeah. So there's very, very few things that makes my head quiet. One is deadlifts and weightlifting, and the other one's dogs. But you're not allowed them in the gym. So, well, you can in mine, dog friendly area. But it's the combination between the almost like you said, self-meditative exercise and the physical changes that they kind of work together. So physical improvement, increasing confidence, and then the actual exercise itself being quite therapeutic and being able to kind of help you cope with some of the systems of mental health, basically. So it's the very same for me as well. I suffered pretty much from my younger years all the way through. But yeah, there wasn't as much of an understanding, and also you didn't want to let people know that you had problems, because Yeah, you're weaker, or you were mental.
Yeah. I can really relate to that. I remember I run downstairs and I'll be like, I used to panic about pointless things, and it's written in my book actually when I felt that the moon was going to crash into the house, which is ridiculous when I reflect back. And I run downstairs, and obviously to my mum and dad, they're like, "What is he on about?" You know what I mean? And they were concerned for me, but they knew it would. The moon wasn't going to crash into the house, you know. So, but it was just I always come up with, when I look back, you know, silly things like that. But it was just all because of anxiety. So it almost was like a focal point to panic, if you know what I mean, when you reflect back. So
you just need something to be anxious about. Your brain will find something to focus on to give you that anxiety. It can be anything. I used to get anxious when I was a teenager about putting my shoes on the wrong feet.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to, but but what if you did? People will notice, and it's an odd thought process.
Isn't it? That you forgot your keys or you haven't locked the door. These are things.
Double checking the locks. Yeah,
double checking them, and then even when you're driving away, you're like, did I lock the door? You know, so these are obsessions which can creep in, and you think it's normal, but it depends on what level. I'm sure everyone experiences it. It's just obviously it's being aware of what level you go into of obsessions with these things, isn't it? Really?
Yeah. They reckon there's one in 4 people now suffer from some form of so everyone keeps using these mental health issues. I think we should call them mental illnesses. They are mental illnesses.
Yeah.
They because it's our health that's become a little bit sick.
Yeah.
And there is, and that's why we never get rid of them, but we can kind of heal them slightly. And I think that's I think I would say 1 in 4 I think is a slightly over estimation. I think it's probably more like 1 in 3, 1 in 2 these days, especially with other things that have added to it, situational things. I think it's probably 1 in 2 these days.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing how much stuff you got going on, and I have to mention this because I think I've seen it happen quite a lot. If you look at most successful people who have that drive to keep going and going, and I can relate to this as well, it's that burning desire, and I can relate to this. It's that burning desire to feel like that you're not going to fail, if that makes sense. So for me, I wake up every morning wanting the purpose of helping others. But I also got that little bit in the background of almost not want to feel like I have no purpose, and that's the difference, isn't it? It's whether you're going to use that driving force to serve you and move you forward, or whether you're going to use a fear to hold you back. And I think that's a big part of it, isn't it?
I think it's it's the same with anything. If you've there's plenty of really intelligent people that never use their intelligence. There's loads of really talented sports people that never apply themselves. The key contributor is you have these. I have this brain that keeps pushing me forwards to do more. I could quite easily use it to take drugs. It's a need to do something. It's whether you channel it to do something good or to do something bad. Yeah. Basically, you have 2 directions, I think, in life.
Yeah, and what's funny is at the time they don't see it as bad. It's a drive to fill their need. Whether it's a short fix or a long-term thing, it's a driving force. And sometimes you think you're doing something which is going to benefit you. It's only when you look back you think, hold on a minute, this isn't going to benefit. And I guess what's really hard for individuals is that self-awareness and assessment to take they see it as a disassociation. You've got to disassociate your behaviour and look from someone else's point of view and give yourself feedback. Is it actually serving you? I think that's so hard for people. Yeah.
Self-evaluation is always the hardest thing to do. And if I'm honest, that's why I have a business coach for that reason, because sometimes I can go a million miles an hour in one direction without probably realizing that it might not particularly work out. So I have someone that, you know, makes me look at the helicopter view and goes, right, but that will happen, that will happen, that will happen. So although I have this drive to keep going, sometimes that needs, you know, it does need to be reined in sometimes as well. Because if not, I can go a million miles an hour into something else. But that is definitely 100% the ADHD. That's part of the system. Is I'm definitely not scared to fail.
Yeah.
But sometimes I go probably too far with an idea without properly rationalising it and thinking about it.
All of a sudden, your focus becomes more and more channeled.
Yeah.
One thing, but then you block the observation of what's around, which could be hindering you to get that one thing. Does that find it in that way? So at all cost, you're going for that thing. But
then you've got the fear of burning out as well, because you don't take then time for yourself. There's all, you know, drive is brilliant. It can get you miles into what you want to do, but sometimes you have to, you know, take the 2 steps back occasionally, or you're just going to push yourself too far.
Yeah.
But I've had times I've given myself exhaustion, because I tried to run 2 businesses at one time on my own as a sole trader. I was trying to do a meal prep company and PT, and I was working like 90 hours a week. I was doing well. I was building both, but I was destroying myself at the same time. I ended up in hospital for 2 weeks.
You're just next day, and all of a sudden you have a physical response of some sort. Yeah.
And mine was collapse on the floor, then get taken to get a little bit of a respite in a hospital bed.
Yeah.
So hence the reason I sometimes have to control myself back down, which is another one of the units in terms of setting realistic goals and realistic targets. Is one thing I've learned from my mental health is sometimes we get a bit clouded as well.
Yeah. I was just saying, when we talk about the clouded side, so obviously you've got much better with this for yourself, but would you say in the past it would only be your view and no other view? Have you ever been that sort of mindset before? Or you've always been quite diplomatic with certain things?
I think as well, because I might bring in, I think that, you know, that helped me be able to do that. I've never been someone who's authoritarian. You know, I've never been the PT that hits with a stick. I dangle the carrot. Yeah. And also because I had a little bit of a fractious upbringing as well, so I have quite an understanding of other people's feelings, and so you know, I would be driven to my own goal, but it would never, you know, be the only thing, because I'll still have on the periphery of other people. Yeah, and I think the problem with some mental health as well, with myself specifically, with ADHD comes a system called, what is it? Sensitivity dysphoria. Yeah. So I always have a negative aspect of myself anyway. Yeah. So therefore, other people are more important than me anyway. Yeah. So although I'm driven for myself, it's normally to benefit other people rather than myself.
That's because you'd be, so back in the day, and I've got this concept from Carl Jung, Virginia Satir, which is an NLP coach, that you have archetypes. I don't know if you've heard of this, but you've got archetypes in yourself. So the archetype is someone which isn't your real self, but it's a coping mechanism. So for example, you can get someone who's a controller, and them types are more quite narcissistic, like they want people under them. It's there or no view, and they just go at all costs. But then you get the opposite archetype, which sounds like you fell into, and me, which is more of a pleaser type, that will say yes at any cost, to think that you're not going to upset others. You go the extra mile for others, but in the end, you're left feeling as a second-class citizen that you've lost your values and beliefs, your standards, you don't know who you are anymore. So they go to, and there's another 2 archetype, which is the computer, which blocks all emotions, and they don't know remorse. You know, if there's a death or anything like that, they don't know how to relate. And then you get like the distractor, who becomes a joker as well, where they have to keep themselves busy, and rather than tackling the problem, they duck their head in the sand. So these are 4 archetypes which you need to be aware of, that in time you can make it serve you instead. So for example, the pleaser becomes the helper, but they do it not at their own cost. So they make sure they know their values and beliefs, they know their standards, and they won't drop them, but they'll still be that helper to others. And that sounds like that's something where you've developed towards votes of myself.
Yeah. I'm still a people pleaser, but I set boundaries for myself now. You have to set boundaries. I also am the joker, and it's all self-deprecating humour normally as well. So I've got to stop myself from doing that as well.
Yeah.
Because if not, there's a constant battle to basically think about yourself with all your decisions. Again, help with business coaching, everything that I've and therapy. I've learned to develop that bit better. I think in terms of the defense mechanism aspect of it, I think every PT I've ever worked with really has got some form of kind of mask that they wear anyway. I think most people go into if they go into it for the right reason, they go into PT because they want to help other people, but secretly they want to help themselves by helping other people.
It's got to be a win-win. That's how it works, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, I'm now engineering my group classes, for example, where it benefits as me as much as the person or the people I'm training, because I have to. Because at 40s now, I want to do this until I want to retire. I've made that decision, so I have to engineer my life around it's going to serve me as much as others. Whereas back in the day, I wouldn't necessarily do that. I mean, I remember when I first started PTing, I was doing it for free, and then I started doing it for very cheap. So again, I had that pleaser mindset. But you do get the opposite type that you said, where they're purely maybe going into it for their self.
Yeah,
I like to think they won't necessarily last too long.
No, they normally they're a quick burn and disappear.
Yeah.
But I think you see that in every industry. There's people buy people basically. You show worth to someone else through you as a person. People are more likely to take on more services and products from you. If you give people the minimum and just take, then people quite easily and quite quickly see through that.
It'll find out, won't they? It becomes the leak and bucket syndrome, whereas at the beginning you're filling the water, but then all of a sudden the hole appears at the bottom and you keep filling the water and it keeps dropping out. And that's what happens with these people. They're super successful, and all of a sudden people see it, and then they can't fill up the bucket.
There's another good guy called Napoleon Hill.
Think and Grow Rich.
There you go. And his whole idea of the givers rewards, and the fact if you're prepared to give more, people are prepared to in essence give you more. Givers gain. To use another principle, but that's the way I've always looked at it.
You Think and Grow Rich. Transmutation. Do you remember that chapter in there?
Probably. It's been a while since I read it. Sorry.
I'll briefly go into it. So the reason why I mention this is because we're supposed to be in our prime now, based on that book, at 40s. Because what he describes as transmutation is about that we're in connection with our sexuality, and we get the right woman by our side at this age, and we're not going to be the type to stray. And then this is the time we've got the right woman, we know what we want in life, and this is where we really spur on to the next level. So that's
well, I agree with that. I'm very happy with my fiance. She's lovely. She's supportive. I've had my time with people that you like you said, utilise the people pleasing for their own gains. I've now got someone who we work together as a team. So yeah, in terms of that principle, then yeah, I agree with that. Plus we've gone through a lot, we've learned a lot, learned things that you're not to do. Well, most of them. I'm probably still doing quite a lot of the ones I shouldn't be doing either. But hopefully that's the case then. I hope Mr. Hills managed to prophesise my next kind of couple of years then.
We're on the up now. We're in what do they call it? The primal phase, or whatever he calls it.
Primal.
This is it. But you know what? We've covered so much about mental health or mental illnesses and obviously mindset. I'd like you to finish with what you're offering for people, because I think this is super important.
Yeah. So obviously, I'm a personal trainer. Like same, I offer the one-to-ones, and I have my app. Kind of anything related to fitness, I'll be able to help. But my key focus at the moment, and I think going forward, is I have an academy that I've set up. It's pretty much nearly ready. It's just got a few little tweaks going on with it, but I need some beta testers for it. It's basically a 12-week program, but also it's a monthly subscription. So you have 12 weeks of videos going through basic nutrition, because you don't realize how much nutrition affects your mental health. You then have basic physiology in terms of trying to stop yourself from getting injured, which I, having killed myself with powerlifting, I know really affected my health when I was out injured for too long. There's from surviving to thriving, which is basically tips to how to use, how to make the gym less scary, because it's a scary place.
Yeah. And
then the last bit is basically exercises you can do at home to start giving you the confidence to go into the gym world. I'm thinking hopefully once the 12 weeks you've done that, it's then I'm doing an intermediate and an advanced, which I haven't filmed yet, but that's kind of the plan to keep it going. So I develop with the clients. I give them then the confidence to then maybe go into a gym within the intermediate section and just help them with their mental health through exercise. Because I know it's not the only thing that help with mental health, because I'm medicated, I've done therapy, but it's one of the catalysts that helped me really get to understand myself a little bit better. So I'm looking for people that want to kind of trial this for a month. So if you want to drop me a message, say you're interested in that, it's info@meancleanandlean.co.uk. That's my brand. But the academy is called Light the Way, Train Through the Darkness.
Brilliant. Obviously, I'll leave it all, because this is going out on YouTube, so it'll be
Happy days.
It'll be all in the comments on there, and also it'll go out on all the podcasts ones, likes of Apple and Spotify, the lot. So obviously they'll be on both of them. But I'd like to get you back on at one point, and this we've covered about mental health, but I do think it'd be super interesting to go in a bit more about you being a project manager, isn't it? So we can go into that.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. It's an accidental project manager, but I'm working with a company called Rise Homes. Their facilities wanted gyms. I've developed one here, one in Wolverhampton. The next ones will be Sheffield, and I think we've got one coming in Leeds, and kind of using this as a bit of a way to get gyms in residential and office areas, which I think are needed. So again, making sure that it's easier for people to have access, and it's also a way in which we can kind of make training a bit more accessible for people as well. I'll go into greater detail about that next time.
That'd be really good. But you know what? You're doing a great job, and it's great to have you, mate. And obviously, hope we get to catch up again, whether that's next time on Zoom or whether it's in person. But for now, I'll let you get on with your day job and do what to do best.
Happy days. I've got a session now, so I'll see you guys soon.
See you soon, mate. Bye.